Welcome everyone to the Aureus Financial Podcast. You're joined by Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, the co-founder and CEO of Aureus Financial.
My name is Sam Panetta. I'm the COO and the co-founder of Aureus Financial.
And we're very lucky today to have our 11th feature on our podcast, but our actual first virtual podcast with Paul Wright. How are you doing, Paul?
Mate, great to be here. I love what you guys are doing. Great to be part of it. So I'm the first virtual, am I? How's that work?
You are, mate, which is good. We're trying to embrace technology and see where it takes us. Mate, so I appreciate your time. It was interesting how we come to meet. As I guess by way of introduction, we connected on LinkedIn. We had I guess quite a similar journey, but in very different industries. And obviously you've a little bit more seasoned than myself. You've got a lot more experience. But it's been great to I guess learn about your journey and what you've achieved to date. So, mate, as a bit of a crash course, what's your story for the listeners or viewers today?
Okay, my claim to fame, I suppose, was that I was born in a very small country town, in Coonamble, New South Wales. So out in the sticks, 100 miles north of Dubbo, and you don't really know as a guy growing up in a small town, you think, well, what am I going to do? And it was only when I started to get more involved in sport, I thought, well, I'll be a PE teacher, was my first career calling. So I then applied for uni, got into PE teaching at Newcastle and had great fun 3 years at Newcastle Uni, had a great time. And I remember it being at a university event and running into a physiotherapist. And I didn't even know, there's no physios in Coonamble, so I didn't even know what a physio was. But I was interested in the anatomy and physiology that I'd done in PE teaching. So, okay, well, this sounds like fun. That might be more my go. So I applied to Sydney Uni as a mature age student, having finished my phys ed course. And, you guys will know, you get those forks in the road. I got the letter of acceptance to go to Sydney Uni, which Cumberland College in those days out west. And you still think, well, do I want to go? I've just finished a course. I can sit back and take an easy life as a PE teacher, reading the paper. I love sports. That was going to be ideal for me, school holiday hours. Or do I go down the path of going to uni? And I ended up deciding to go to uni in Sydney, spent 4 years, worked my guts out, wasn't a natural student by any stretch of the imagination, and ended up graduating as a physio 4 years later. That was 1990. 2 degrees, 7 years at uni. I go to my uncle and he says, what are you going to do now? So I'm going to be a fireman. He said, you're for real? You've just spent 7 years at uni and you're going to be a fireman. I said, but Unc, you don't understand. It's 2 days, 2 nights, 4 days off. It's brilliant. He shakes his head and walks off. So anyway, I didn't end up becoming a fireman. I ended up doing a year in the public hospital system as a physio. But like most entrepreneurs, I got frustrated being told what to do, was chronically unemployable. Ended up opening my own business pretty quickly after I finished my year in the hospital system. Opened a practice in Chatswood in Sydney, and over the next 15 years, I suppose, we built up to 6 practices, 5 in Sydney, 1 in Newcastle. My claim to fame, I suppose, was I read The E-Myth very early in my business career by Michael Gerber, which was a great read. Those that haven't read it, get The E-Myth. And I remember, I'll take you back a stage, when I'm treating patients in my Chatswood practice, starting early, finishing late, like most business owners, they're working the hours. This bus keeps going past. Eastern Valley Way, Chatswood, the bus keeps going past. On the side of the bus, it says, why most small businesses fail and what to do about it, is on the side of the bus. And I'm getting better now. I wasn't very out there then, but I'm thinking the universe is telling me something. So I follow up with this. It leads me to a Michael Gerber seminar. I read The E-Myth, all about working on your business, not in your business. And I can do that. So I replicated my practice I had then into the 6 practices I ended up with, and claim to fame, I had the 6 practices, didn't go to any of them, didn't miss a school carnival or sports event. My primary school daughter, that stage, principal thought I was a drug dealer. What are you doing, Righty? Why are you at everything? And I just ran the business remotely and had a great nurturing time building a great team. But as like all entrepreneurs, I got sick of that. And the worst thing you can say to my beautiful wife, Helen, darling, I've got an idea. So you come over with the idea, I'm going to sell the business and I'm going to start an information marketing business. So what the hell's that is normally the thing you get. And then I over the last, sold my businesses, and I've now the last 4 or 5 years been focusing heavily on building information marketing and mentoring health professionals to run better businesses, because over the 7.5 years at my university course, I did no education, didn't do one lecture on business, nothing on money. You do nothing and you wonder why you come out, open your business and haven't got a clue what you're doing. So in a nutshell, that's the journey. Over the time, married my beautiful wife, had 4 beautiful daughters, and spent a lot of time with them, which is what I wanted the business to do. Fantastic. I was fortunate. One of my mentors said the role of a business is to give you more life. If it's not doing that, it's taking it, and I lived it to the hilt. So I had a great time.
And that's really inspiring, mate. I think that that is really the epitome of the ideal journey that most business owners aspire to have, right? That they aspire to master their craft, create a business that operates without them, and then ultimately get to a point where they can inspire others like them to do the same. And you hear so many of these stories of people like you in other industries, but I've noticed that typically in the health and the holistic health industry, there seems to be a really big hole in terms of overall thought leadership and individuals like yourself that are able to break free of that cycle. And I even know from my own clients and my own network how many holistic health practitioners, and even traditional health practitioners, cannot escape that role of being a technician and a slave to their business.
They're getting better. I think they're getting better, Jackson. I think as they are evolving and we're evolving as a profession. But having said that, I was fortunate because I cut my teeth a bit in the fitness industry, so I was heavily involved in that as I was doing my physio work. And at every fitness conference, there was always a huge business strand. There was always lots of marketing and sales, and I was gravitating towards that. These days, and there wasn't that around in those days for the health providers, but that's changing a little bit. I think too, the other thing, when you study a long time to be something, like you study, like I 4 years to be a physio and it's 5 years to be a surgeon. That's a lot of time to invest and then to walk away from it and be a business owner. So, which I think challenges some health business. So I've just spent 5 years at uni and I'm not even doing what I was trained to do. How's that work? But you've got to come to the realization that, as I did, I can help many more people by opening these businesses, employing team members, and them delivering the service of healthcare compared to what I can deliver doing it myself as a one-on-one. So you get greater reach, you get greater scope, which is probably why I've done most of the programs I'm doing now, because with the internet now, you can reach a bigger audience, and that's what you're trying to do in most businesses.
You get it, Paul. You absolutely get it. You understand what it is to build a business and to scale. You essentially hit the holy grail in entrepreneurship. You build one successful, profitable business, and then you scale that up to 6 clinics. I know a lot of people listening to this, a lot of the small business owners that listen, they would be thinking, how did he do it? What journey did he take? Do you care to enlighten us on how you done it?
Well, as you said, you focus on your main business first and create systems that are replaceable and reproducible. It's a simple principle, but most people don't get it. They don't sit. They do a lot of things themselves, and they think, well, I can't get other people to do that. I had a sign on my wall for years. The sign says, "What's the only thing that I can do, or the most important thing that only I can do right now?" And I live by that. What's the only thing that I can do? And invariably, there's 2 things I never gave away in my business. I never go away with my marketing, because I liked marketing and I thought I was the best at it. And I never gave away my checkbook, which is interesting for you guys with money. I didn't want anyone else spending my money. So I was in charge of the purse strings, and I made sure that I knew. And once you get those things in place, everything else is just systems and processes, whether it's how you answer the phone, it's how you do this, it's even how you treat patients. And I say, and sometimes health professionals say, but you're micromanaging us, Wrighty. Well, I am, but the majority of people are typical. There's consistencies. And if this is how I want it done here, and if you do it this way, it'll be fine. And there's the odd variation, but that's where you use your clinical skills and you do that yourself. But then maybe too, it comes back to available labour supply, especially in healthcare. I learned years ago, the 2 key drivers of a business: available labour and available market. So you've got to find a place where there's enough people that want your service, and then make sure that place has enough people that can provide that service. So, but if there's a drop in available labour, if you're opening a practice and there's not a lot of available labour or skilled available labour around, you have to leverage junior team members with great systems to make them seem better than they are. So you've got to do it. You don't have an option. So the more you can make it systematic, the more you can structure it, you can leverage a junior therapist or a junior anything to appear much better than they are by giving them access to great systems, whether it's accounting, no matter what it is. So what I started doing, here's a classic for you. So I started recording everything. I went to a lecture once, and the guy said, I don't know why I was there, but the guy was it was a Bunnings lecture. The guy was talking about sharpening chainsaws. And I'm one of the worst handyman in the world. But the guy said, and he said, do you ever get sick of telling people how to sharpen the chainsaw? And the guy that was there said, oh, I used to, but then I just videoed it, and now I sell that video when I sell a chainsaw. You know, you have moments in your life. I'm sitting there in the audience thinking, you idiot, Righty, why aren't I recording everything? So as a result of that, everything then became recorded. So there was a training video on how to answer the phone. There was a training video on how to do a new patient entry. There was a training video on how to do an orthotic. Whatever we were doing, we had a training video for it. And when your team member starts, you just put it all on YouTube, an unlisted link, give them the spreadsheet with all the links, watch all these things before you arrive on day one, and you'll be halfway there. It just fast tracks the whole process. And I hated them doing anything twice. So I'd do an induction, I'd do it once, and I'd do this in-service or this lecture once, and I'll use it forever. So video everything for us. I remember waking up one night, I had one of those moments where, where you think, oh no, what have I done? I had a senior admin person who knew everything in the business, but I didn't know a lot. And if anything happened to her, I know I was in trouble. That's we've all got business. We're all in the same boat, I reckon.
There's so many businesses that have that same problem, right?
So I'm sitting there, and I remember, and I don't know what happened, but I woke up bolt upright. Oh no, she knows everything. If anything happens tomorrow, I'm in trouble. So I ring her up, said, when you come tomorrow, I've got someone to cover your front desk. I want you to show me everything. So we put a camera in the corner. I had a list of all the things I wanted to show me. Show me how you do the badge. Show me how you do the invoices. Show me how you do this. Show me how you order this. And you'd stop and start the video with a remote. Stop, start. And I just recorded the screen and recorded her on these videos. So then we had 60 videos of how to do this, and they're just writing how to do this, how to do that. Now, if anything happened to her, at least I had something to go back to. And then I just recorded a day of training that I can show my new team members to just watch this, watch this. When you come on the first day, you'll have watched all those things and you'll be halfway there. And the things you don't even realize, I remember interviewing then future admin team members, and that was one of my litmus tests. Oh, by the way, when you start next week, I'll send you a spreadsheet and it'll have all these videos you got to watch before you arrive on the first day. And if they said, am I going to be paid for that? Terminate the position straight away. Oh no, sorry, I found someone else. If they're excited at the opportunity to learn and put some effort in before they start, they're the right person for me.
And there's so many layers to that, Paul. I think that this is something that's so often overlooked, and it's crazily simple, isn't it? It seems like it's staring you in the face. But in your experience with your coaching clients, how many of the businesses that you're working with actually do this before you step into their business?
Well, not many before we step in. They all do it once you get involved. Yeah, the deal that they have to be pushed. And that's why mentoring and coaching is so important, because they don't really understand the importance of this. And I'm a different sort of mentor to these guys, because I can always help them make more money. My focus is always to help them have more life. So how can I make the money while I pull them out? And that's my passion. I love nothing more than working with a physio in Canada or wherever who goes from 80 hours a week consulting to a 20-hour a week business where he's at home with his family a bit of the time. That's when you know you're doing good work, and that's what gives you the buzz. But none of them have any idea really before they start. They just think that's how they do it. They think it's the old dental philosophy. If you're not drilling, you're not billing.
Yeah.
So, but they've got to think there's other ways to generate income. And
I think that ties into your book as well, that the 1 minute practice. And this is something that really resonated with me, because it's very similar to our value proposition. A lot of clients come to us with this view that they need to build as much wealth as humanly possible, just because that's what they think they need to do. That's what's expected of them. But then when you ask them why, and you ask them about the destinations that they're trying to achieve, they have no idea. And it's only until they define that destination, it's impossible to work out what's the right path to take. And your approach seems to be very similar. It's about crafting the life that you desire. So
I ask all the guys, I'll tell you, I ask all the guys I work with, we do a thing called the freedom score, which I'm not sure I wrote about in the book, but the freedom score, I get them all to work out. I did it last week at a conference in Brisbane. We're all around the table with these guys, and I said, give me your freedom score, which is essentially how many hours a week do you have to physically be at your business or at your job? What's the number? So if they're running a business and they're seeing 40 hours worth of patients, it's at least 40. They have to be there for at least 40 hours. And when I ran my businesses, my freedom score was 0. So because I didn't have to be anywhere. If I didn't want to go, I didn't go. If I did go, I did. It was discretionary. And even now, I've actually gone backwards in my freedom score with my current business. So I've gone from a 0 freedom score. I've now got a freedom score of 9, because every Tuesday is my mentor day. So I have 18 private clients I work with at any one time. I don't want more than 18. And every Tuesday we do back-to-back Skype calls, 45 minutes of each call. So I do 9 one Tuesday, the other 9 the next Tuesday, and then the group start again. So they get 2 consults with me every month. They pay a set fee for that. So I have to be somewhere for 9 hours a week. And that's otherwise you've chained to something. And these guys that are doing 50, 60 hours a week of consulting and then trying to run the business on top of that, you just can't do it. I talk about the principle of selfishly Wright his law, which is simply the more therapists you have in your team, the less consulting hours you can do as a therapist. If it's in healthcare, it's probably the same in everything. Because once you add team members, you add stress and time, and there's mentoring, there's nurturing, there's the breakdown, wherever there is, the hiring. The more team you have, the less hours you can do doing the thing, whatever the thing is. Try and do them both, it'll kill you. You can't do it.
Yeah. You burn out.
Yeah.
Mate, for someone who's accomplished as much as yourself, you would have come across some sort of troubles along the way. There would have been some sort of hurdles that you had to overcome. What are some of the most memorable and the most lesson teaching hurdles that you jumped across?
Well, if you're in business long enough, guys, you'll know you're going to have a plethora of experiences. I've had probably our classic. This is a gem. The practice that I started on Eastern Valley Way in Chatswood in Sydney, busy, really good practice. It was pumping. We were inside a fitness centre, so there was a fitness centre that we were inside of, and they were our landlord, and we were inside the fitness centre. I get a phone call late Thursday night from one of my valued clients. Said, "Paul, have you heard the news?" "What news is that?" He said that they haven't paid rent. The gym hasn't paid rent to their landlord for 3 months now. We think it's going to close tomorrow. Okay. So I get there early in the morning, and I know the owner of the gym well. Mate, what's going on? And I had my monthly rent check to give him for the next month. And I went to hand it over, and he said, "Just keep hold of that, Righty, for a second." And I knew we were in trouble from that moment. So, okay. Word got around that they were closing. There was word that they were going to be sold to another big chain that was going to take it over. And everyone's saying to me, "It'll be right, mate. We're going to sell to the big player. We'll be just trading as normally on Monday." I said, "Well, maybe that's the case. I'm going to hire a truck," which I did, parked it out the front, cancel the patients for that, and put everything from the practice into the truck. Basically just moved everything out that afternoon. Everyone's saying, "You're crazy, Roddy. What are you doing that for?" "Well, because in case the wheels fall off, you might not be able to get back into this building. So I'll take everything, and if it works out, I'll bring it all back on Monday morning." We never again set foot inside that practice. It closed that day, and nothing came out of there that was in there when they closed the doors. So there's a massive business gone in 12 hours through no fault of our own.
Outrageous. So
Now, what's the lesson? Right, here's the lesson for you. I fortunately had started my second practice by then. So I got in early knowing that the most dangerous number in business is the number 1. So 1 of anything was dangerous. So 1 practice was dangerous. So I'd already opened another practice in northern suburbs of Sydney. So I had somewhere to go. It was half an hour away, so it wasn't going to be great for transitioning patients to, but at least it was somewhere. that I could then consolidate to and do it. So I shut that, no fault of my own, moved everything to this new place, focused on the new practice. Probably, and as I was scared then of having that as a single practice, by that stage I thought, well, I'll open another one. So I opened another one in St Leonard's. So then I had these two going. And probably 12 months to the day, I got a phone call. He says, Ryder, you still got that truck you had 12 months ago when you moved everything out of Chatswood? I said, why? Because the DY practice is in the same situation. It might be going under as well. Here we go again. So, but by that stage, I'd also realised, don't get a premise that relies on someone else as business success. So the practice I opened at St Leonard's was in a commercial space. It wasn't inside another business. It was my own lease, essentially inside my accountant's office, but we shared the space. So I didn't rely on their success to make sure I was going to be okay. And that was probably the
wow.
But and the business, you spend years building it, gone like that.
When people would look at that in different lights, I think that how you react to that situation ultimately defines you as an entrepreneur and a business owner, particularly in light of the fact that you didn't do anything wrong. There was nothing that you could have done differently that could have resulted in a different situation or a different outcome. And I think that for many business owners, they probably would have said, no, that's too tough. I'm not going to build this thing back up from the ground again. But you obviously got back up, dusted yourself off, and then went at it again, and only for it to happen once more.
I was a slow learner, I tell you. I think, well, here I am. But then I opened, the practice I had, 5 of them were inside fitness centres down the track. So it was a symbiotic relationship, but I went in knowing the risks, and I always knew I had the one practice that wasn't in a gym. So if they all folded, I knew I was going to be okay. And over the course of time, some of these places have folded. So, but there's an important lesson for everyone in this. They can close your premises, but as long as you keep your database. So as long as you build your list, the money is in the list. It's not in the physical premises. So people that are running businesses out there where they're not collecting the details of their customers, you're in danger. I continue to be staggered by the number of businesses that don't know who their customers are. Get the list.
I can't believe that. I can't believe it's 2018 and people still aren't building CRMs. Do you know what I mean? There's value in it. It's an asset. It's an asset to a business.
Staggering, isn't it? And so it's all about building the list. And if you're ever doing the other thing, if you're ever doing lectures, here's a tip for you. If you're ever doing lectures, never ever give out your business card. It's a recipe for disaster. Now you want their details. So every lecture that I ever do, if I'm doing a lecture for health business owners, whatever, they wanted me to give you some handouts, but we had some technical issues. I'll pass a sheet around, put your name and email address on this, and I'll send you the notes, and I'll send you a great bonus recording I did, blah, blah, blah. So you're walking away with something that you can then leverage, which is why sometimes guys like me will speak for nothing, because it's always how many people in the audience and who are they. That's where the money is. The money is in the list. The money is in the crowd. There's no money in your product or service. The money's in the list. And identifying what the opportunity is and where they're lacking and where they need help is where the money is. We do it in healthcare. You guys might have done it. You fall in love. We typically fall in love with our product. Mistake. I fell in love with being a physio, or I fell in love with being a PE teacher. But at no time did I think, is there a market for that? Can I make a living out of that? Is there a future in that? What I learned over the years is you fall in love with the market. What does the market want? You guys have done it in finance. There's an opportunity. There's a missing part of the piece here. In healthcare, no one was teaching health business owners about business. There was a market opportunity. You identify the market and then create the product to match the market. You don't do it the reverse. I'm sure you guys watch Shark Tank. Anyone who's watching it? Yeah, I love Shark Tank. The classic Shark Tank one. I love this. The guy was selling the underarm pad for deodorant. You know, you put the pad under, and you put that under there so your shirt doesn't get dirty from your sweat. So he's selling these things. So he's selling the whole idea of this underarm pad thing, and they didn't want it. And they said to him at the end, "What are you going to do?" Because they didn't take the deal. "What are you going to do?" So I'll keep going. I said, "How many have you sold so far?" 200. Over how long? 5 years. So he sold 200 over 5 years. I know, but I'll stick with it. Fell in love with his product. Classic mistake. find something else, roll that dead duck and get something better.
Well, it's kind of flogging a dead horse, isn't it, in a lot of cases? And look, I think it's just being driven, because back on your previous point, these people, particularly health professionals, have invested so much time in their craft, and they just can't afford to cut their losses, or they can't come to terms with cutting their losses. And this is really where someone like yourself comes in and can add a lot of value to be able to have that, I guess, external perspective to give them a fresh set of eyes on what their harsh reality may be. And I think that's a good segue, mate. So in your experience as a coach and a mentor for these healthcare professionals, what do you think are the kind of low-hanging fruit that they need to be addressing in their businesses? What are the kind of go-to areas where you see you can add the most amount of value to them?
Yeah, biggest opportunity for most of them. They get involved in coaching, and there's so many leaks in the internal systems of their business. They're not giving all patients a written plan of care. They're not following up with people with a phone call. They're not building their database. They're not staying in touch with their people. They're not following up on cancellations. They're doing everything really reactionary. There's no real plan to what they're doing. And they come to a coach and say, well, I need more new patients, which is usually the last thing they need, because that's the expensive thing. To get new people into your business is expensive. Whereas you've already got a database, and I'm a big fan of the database. Can you reactivate people? Can you stay in touch with people? Can you offer them something? Can you get them back in? Do they have family or friends? You're much better with the people that already know, like, and trust you. But these guys think that marketing is about going after new patients. And there's a time for that, but you've got to earn the right to do it. Otherwise, you're spending a lot of money to get people into your funnel and into your system, into your business, and then you're marking it up. Yeah. You just see it. So you've got to tighten up the internal things first. Make sure you capitalize on every lead, every opportunity, every patient before you even think about spending money on external marketing, because that's expensive. That's where the money is. That's where the cost is. But you see it all the time. The other big thing, very few of them know their numbers well enough, which leads into what you guys do. They don't know what they're spending on rent as a percentage of gross, or what their wage bill is, and they as a result, they find themselves having to work more and more hours just to keep the money coming in, to keep the profit in the business that it's sustainable. But they just don't know the numbers well enough.
We see this a lot, Paul, and it's in every business. I think that a lot of business owners have their eye on the revenue. They think that if the revenue's coming in, they're doing well. But unfortunately, a lot of business owners don't understand the relationship between their revenue and their cost to serve and their fixed costs. Yeah. And therefore, they have absolutely no idea how much is actually left over once they've rendered their services, paid all of their bills, and particularly after they've paid their taxes. Yeah. And you have to know your numbers. It doesn't matter what business that you're in. Having context around what your numbers need to look like in order to achieve your goals is imperative.
You can usually tell when you sit down with a client, as you guys would, if you ask them the numbers, the more they can tell you about the numbers, you'll think, okay, they know what they're doing, these guys. If they bring you a box full of receipts and say, do your best, we're in trouble. You know you're in all sorts of trouble with that client. But that's just, again, we're not trained in that. So, and I'm not an accountant. I'd say very clear, I'm not an accountant. I'm not, but I just want to know the down and dirty numbers in the business. What am I making? And because as I said in the book, the accountant's numbers are very different than what I want to know. The accountant's numbers, what's the job of my accountant in a small business? To reduce my tax, organise my BAS, and keep me out of jail. That's the job of my accountant. But that doesn't help me run the business. If I've got a great accountant or a great financial planner, I'm paying no tax. I'm showing the business is going down. I've got all sorts of things that make it look bad. But I can't use those numbers to run the business, because there's all sorts of things happening that are adjusting my earnings before interest. I want to know what my profit is and what are the numbers. So I'd spend a lot of time with my clients. Don't wait for your accountant to tell you your numbers. Do it down and dirty 1 minute practice style. What did you bill for the month? Over the calendar month, what did you spend on all your things? What was your wages for the calendar month? What was your rent? And let's look at what's left over after you've done all those things. And then we can do some analysis. If your rent's 30% of gross, you're no chance. You got to know what your numbers are and what your ratios are so you can run a successful business. And if you're not getting, in most health businesses, we like a figure of 20 to 30%. if you're not getting 20 to 30% profit out of as a percentage of gross out of your business, I'll do something else. Find another business.
Exactly right.
Unless you're grossing $1 billion, and then I'll take 1% of that any day. But if you're most smaller businesses, you've got to know your numbers.
Yeah. Do you find that a lot of these practitioners are in the habit of paying themselves a wage and taking regular drawings, or do they typically find themselves in the same kind of pattern as most small businesses where they're kind of paying themselves last?
Well, they're usually paying themselves last. Depends on what accountancy advice they've got, whether they're set up as a proprietary limited company, whether they're a sole trader, whether they're just drawing some money out of the business. You know, some are just living week to week. They're pulling some money out and hoping that pays the bills. But that's the trap, because they get caught up thinking without seeing patients, they're not making any money. They're trapped. If they take a holiday, it's going to cost them 10 grand. You know, so they won't take holidays. So it's just that whole idea of not knowing your numbers well enough and not budgeting it. I mean, I did analysis with one of my private clients this week. We looked at his numbers because he said, I'd like to take a holiday of 3 weeks with a family, but I'm just really nervous about what will happen in the practice. We've done enough of his numbers to know, look, over 12 months, this is what you're going to profit. Take the holiday. Like, you can afford it. Just take the holiday. What about the patients? Well, the patients will be there when you get back. Take the holiday. One of my favorite things I learned years ago, what are you going to remember? It's always an analogy. What are you going to remember? And I remember I pulled this on a mate of mine who's who's a sports physician. And we every year we go away with the boys. There's a group of us go away every year. And he contacted me. I said, Roddy, I can't come this year. I've got too many patients to see. Or there's something with the business. Mate, what are you going to remember? So what do you mean? Are you going to remember the patients you saw during that 3 days? Or are you going to remember seeing Wayne go over the handlebars of the quad bike into the river? What are you going to remember? Which is exactly what happened, by the way. So what we don't talk about the patients, we talk about Wayne going over the handlebars into the river. Put yourself into positions where you're going to remember something. What are you going to remember? Because you can't put a price on that stuff. It's dumb thinking.
And business owners fall into this trap, don't they, mate? That they become this slave to their business, and it's constantly this constant pursuit of money and growth. And that's not what it's about. Most of us have this vision of going into business, of being the masters of our own destiny, of having complete freedom over our time. But I can probably count the number of business owners that I know on one hand that have actually created a lifestyle business that works without them.
Yeah. I was fortunate to read the E-Myth early. I was fortunate to have a beautiful wife who's very much into quality of life, and she's not money focused. So if I'd have been poor in my choice of partner, because I probably could have got sucked into that, because I'm an entrepreneur by nature, and I'm a reluctant entrepreneur, I suppose, because I get interested in that sort of stuff, but I'm not willing to do what it takes to get to that level. I'd rather just go, okay, get a business that provides everyone what we need. We get enough, but I can then have fun and live a life, because I'm dead a long time. So I was fortunate. I could have got sucked into it. And every so often Helen says to me, you're working a bit hard. Then you wake up to yourself and you calm down a bit. But it is a difficult balance in most businesses, but you've got to know what's important. And I think one lesson that I had, which I hate putting my values on people, but I do it all the time. One I learned once, you can't put a monetary value on your family time. It's ridiculous to even do it. So, because health professionals are a classic, as are most business owners. I could, if I see a morning full of patients, I can make $1,000, whatever I can make, or I can go to my daughter's school concert. But you can't do both. So what are you going to do? Well, it's going to cost me $1,000 to go to the school concert. So you're making the classic mistake. You're putting a monetary value on your family time. What are you going to remember? I'm not going to remember the patient list. I'll remember the concert. What are you going to remember? And that follows on to one thing that I've always also believed in. There's no such thing, I believe, as quality time with your family. I think personal belief, I think the concept of quality time is ridiculous. The reason why it's ridiculous is because family time is quantity time. It happens because you're around. Special moments can't be scripted. They can't be crafted. I'll spend 2 hours with my daughter, have quality time and take her on this thing. But that you're just jamming this thing into a short period of time and hoping something magical is going to happen. It doesn't work like that. The best moments are unscripted moments. The ones where, classic example, I'm home a lot, as you know. My then 16-year-old daughter comes to the door and stands there, and I said, "You okay, darling?" And she just dissolves into tears, like just dissolves. And she's not a crier, like she's not that sort of girl. She's a strong woman. She's just dissolved. "Come over here, darling." And so we have a cuddle, and okay, something about a boy, something happened, and we cuddled for a minute, and she said, "Thanks, Dad, much better now," and she took off. Now, I can't script that. I can't say break down at 2:00 on Friday when we're having our hour of quality time. The best things happen because you're around, and I know that's tough because business owners will say, "But I can't be around because I've got the business." Well, I'd argue most businesses you can be if you structure it well. You know what you're doing. You put a value on what you're doing. Value your time with your family. You can do whatever you want to do. It's your business. It's your choice.
Yeah, I agree, mate. That's really profound, really. I think that makes it all real and puts it in perspective, doesn't it? And I think the way that I look at those types of situations is, what is if the opposite was true? I guess, what if you were still in that one practice where you were still the sole practitioner? You wouldn't have been at home for that moment.
No, I'd have topped myself, I think.
Yeah, and look, I'm very much the same, man. I strongly believe in a lifestyle business, and I think that it's really been passed down from that past generation, I believe, because I think this whole modern concept of entrepreneurship wasn't possible for the last generation or the one before. We've spoken about it a lot.
I've shot myself in the foot though, because my youngest daughter has seen what I've done. So she's 20 now. So she's currently doing law communication at uni. So second year. She's seen how I've done it, and she's having trouble working out how she can do what I do straight away. So she's seen this. She said, "Well, I just want to do what you do, Dad." Well, it took a while. You can look at the market. So we're now crafting. Where's the opportunity? Where's the market that she can fill, and create a business on that, rather than what we all do. I'm going to be this or be a profession that does this. And what I liked about the course she chose, and I pushed it towards it a little bit. I didn't want her to box into a certain profession. I didn't want her to go and just be a physio even, because I know I've expanded it, but you don't want to pigeonhole yourself these days. What's going to expose you to lots of different things? Good. There's even a degree in entrepreneurship now, so I should have done that.
Mate, you went from being a technician, you went on to owning the practices, being a business owner in the practices, and now you're moving on to information and coaching and things like that. We haven't touched on it much. Tell us more about what you're doing these days.
Okay, well, and here's a lesson for everyone out there. If you've been in business a while, you're going to have good, possibly, processes, procedures, systems, documents, marketing material. You'll have a hard drive of stuff that in essence someone else will pay for. And this is what I discovered as I was building my businesses. I'd already had years of experience in marketing, and so we had all these protocols, procedures, systems. And I'd start to learn a bit about information marketing, about people buying other people's IP. I thought, okay, why don't I produce a membership site? So one of my first programs was a program called Profit Club, which is still going now, where people pay a monthly fee. They get access to my hard drive. So I just basically put everything from the business onto this hard drive that once they're a member, they can access. So imagine what's on your hard drive: posters, newsletter signs, templates, documents, protocols, everything you've got from your business, plunk it on a website. They paid a monthly fee to have access to it. Part of it was a forum where they could ask me questions and I'd answer it once a week. And they get a monthly CD interview, almost like what we're doing now, an expert interview. And now I'm going to interview you guys for Profit Club. So you're one of my next Profit Club interviews is financial wizardry. Nice. So it's a monthly membership program because people will pay for what's on your hard drive. They'll pay for your processes and procedures. That's where I started my information marketing journey. It's still going now. So I mentioned before about recording videos. So we were doing videos not only of admin things, but we recorded all our technical things. So if I was doing a knee assessment, a shoulder assessment, if one of our guys went and did a course, we paid half for the course. And when they came back, one of the things they had to present a seminar to us about what they learned. So we recorded all those things. So we had a massive library of technical education of programs that would be useful to other physiotherapy and health business owners. So my beady brain goes, well, people will pay for that. So we then structure it into a membership site, which is still going today, called physioprofessor.com, where people pay a monthly fee to have access to all these resources and education training. If I'm a physio in private practice or a health professional, I want one of the things all of my team members want, or new team members want, is education. If it's too time intensive for me to do it, they can pay for access to physioprofessor.com, and and their ads will say, join us and you get access to 100 hours of physio education from some world experts, which helps as a recruitment tool. But these monthly recurring incomes. And since then, we've produced DVDs, we've produced programs like the front desk pack, we've done a marketing program. So if I do a lecture, we have a one-day marketing course, we video it, produce the DVD, and that's a product that we sell. So again, think about what the market needs and what you currently do, and can you package it in a way that you can profit from without you doing it all the time. 1 minute practice. So you write a book with your IP ideas that then leads you into our software platform, which I developed with a mate of mine, 1minutepractice.com, which is a health business tracking portal. It has your profit and loss in it, your checklists, your 90-day goals, your registers, so you know that things are happening inside the business. So that's just a measurement tool that you can use to monitor your business when you're not there, which is what you should be doing as a business owner. Yeah, so that's part of what we do in terms of that, plus our mentoring, our one-on-one work, which is, again, people paying for your IP. Information marketing, the best business around, guys, too, by the way. I learned years ago, you want to get the maximum profit from the minimum number of team members. And this is the holy grail, because I've got a part-time admin who's my daughter, who does some work for me on the side. My other youngest one's learning the business, but part-time, and the rest is just, it runs with some outsourced things and IT help, and easy.
And this is the key, mate, that I think that so many technicians, particularly ones that are trading time for money, get stuck in that constant trading of time for money. And they think that just by increasing their hourly rate and becoming the best of the best expert, even as a lawyer, unless the lawyer's got clients and they're billing hours, even if it might be $500, $600 an hour, if they don't turn up to work, they're not getting paid.
That was a ceiling. And I was the same. Probably one of the reasons why I sold the businesses when I did, because I knew there was a ceiling on it. There's 6 practices, so many rooms per practice, so many hours you can bill, so many therapists. And I'm not a ceiling kind of guy. I don't like be limited to anything. So what can I get into that, I could have 1 million members of Profit Club. There's an unlimited opportunity to scalable business. You hear it on Shark Tank all the time. I sit there screaming at the television, it's not scalable. It's the guy wants to take the guy wants to take 10 people to Botswana on a trip and do that. It's not scalable. You just can't do it.
So how do you get started? Because looking at it at face value, it looks like a scary thing of building an asset, taking it to market, getting people to pay you a monthly subscription. How do you get started with building a product of your IP?
Well, if you go into most businesses, you guys are the same, I'm sure you've got it. If you look at what have you got currently that you've already created, developed in your business that is really useful for you guys, that has really helped what you do, and you think, well, who else would benefit from that? Who else would pay for that? It might be a report. It might be an audio. It might be a video. It might be the sharpening the chainsaw was a classic example. What am I doing that someone else will pay for? And you think, well, it comes back to is there a market for it? And are you solving a desperate problem? The more desperate the problem, the better. So the key to a successful business is find the desperate problem and fill the gap. So if the problem that your IP can solve is desperate enough, you might be a horse trainer that's developed this great method for breaking in horses or fitting parts, and you show a lot. And they say, can you show us how to do that? If people are asking you how to do things, there's probably a market for it. Can it be a DVD? Can it be an online course? There's so many ways these days to monetize it. Here's a classic. I'm doing a renovation at an apartment at the moment. and one of our apartments, and we need because of changes to regulations, you now need a bylaw. So you've got to go and get a bylaw to present to the strata committee to get this renovation approved. And you search it, and I've rung 3 different lawyers, and they're going to charge me $2,000 each of them to do this bylaw, which I think that sounds a bit dodgy to me. You go online, there's a guy who teamed up with a strata company. So I paid $200 for the template online, and he shows you exactly how to do it. Fill in the gaps, attach your quote from your builder, and submit that, and that's exactly what you need. See, why wouldn't the other strata lawyers been thinking about that? Like, what? You've solved the desperate problem. So this guy, who's not even a lawyer by the way, I think he's a conveyancer. He's set up this. He's found it as a problem. He's contacted someone who knows how to do it. They've produced this template, wrote the exact instructions on what you got to do, and he just sells it for 250 or whatever bucks a time. That solves a key frustration.
And this works for everything, mate. I think that in this day and age, the cost to serve stuff, and particularly in our industry, and I know in the health industry too, and in most other industries, the cost to serve for one-on-one advice is so high. And therefore, the barrier to entry for people who either can't see the value in paying that top dollar and want to be able to do it for themselves, or potentially don't have the means or the complexity to warrant the investment, are priced out of the market. And it's something that we've focused on a lot, of trying to productize our IP and make it attainable for everyone. And obviously you're on exactly the same wavelength, mate. And I think more industries need to embrace it.
Tip for one thing that I learned really early that I was fortunate with. Like I originally started selling DVDs. So I did a 2-hour knee lecture, a 2-hour shoulder lecture, a 2-hour lumbar spine lecture for health professionals, for physios, chiros, about rehab. And I did a day of that live. The people came to the event. We filmed it. We then produced 3 separate DVDs from it. So so if you're doing a live event, film it and create the product. So there's your product created, paid for by the people who came to the event, which covered my setup costs and everything else. So then I have these products. Problem is that, and we did really well out of that, but there's a problem with the model. It's transactional. So I sell the DVD and I get the money and it's over, which is a problem. The holy grail of information marketing is continuity income, which you guys will know about. So what I then thought, well, okay, rather than selling the DVDs as such, I'll add those DVDs to the Physio Professor portal with all the other videos, and people just pay a monthly fee to access it. Continuity income, it changes the maths. It means I can afford to spend a lot more to get a new client. So 1 Minute Practice is a monthly recurring income model for the access to the software. So I can afford, if I know the average length of time is 12 months that they stay for, I know I can afford to spend a lot of money to get them. If they last 6 months, I've got 6 months of profit. So, but if it's transactional, unlimited. So if you know your numbers, you know what your dropout is. If you can develop a continuity model, which is a recurring payment model, which is all the gym model did. You guys might have been around, but the gym model used to be pay your 6-month membership or pay your 12-month membership. They turned that on their head with a recurring income model. Yeah. So if your business can be turned into recurring income, we're doing it in healthcare. We're trying to get into people join the physio club so they get unlimited physio for so much a month. You protect your database. It's just a different money model. As long as you know your numbers, can you run a membership model? We didn't want patients anymore. We wanted members. Yeah. This is what we want. Can you get members into your program? It just changes the maths.
It's so valuable. It's that lifetime customer value. And once you can put your finger on that, then it's really, the opportunities are limitless.
You're talking our language, mate.
I've been lucky. I've been gifted with being in the right place at the right time and picking the right mentors and reading the right books. And then before you know it, your business, and listen to the things, but it doesn't, like even today, for example, it only takes one message. It took the chainsaw guy for the light to come on for me. It took other things that I've heard over the time to take it from a transaction to a recurring income model. But you've got to, once you get the information, you've got to act on it. You've got to then do something with it. Otherwise, I'd probably be still treating patients in the practice. Yeah. I hope that's been of help.
Mate, definitely, mate. So what's next for you, Paul? In your journey, obviously, you've been able to build these multiple layers to your business. You've diversified your income streams. You're doing your private client work. What's next for you?
Well, I'm getting older, boys. I look much younger than I am. I'll probably do consulting, private consulting for another few years while my youngest daughter finishes uni. Because we can do that anywhere. Like I can be in Botswana and as long as I get an internet connection, that's not a problem for me. So I'll keep that going. I'd like to keep expanding 1 Minute Practice. I think it's a great program and helps owners take much greater control. So I'm going to focus on that. My current project, I'm working on a World Podiatry Business Success Summit. So I'm now producing summits. So I did one last year for physio, the World Physio Summit, online event. I'm well connected, so I get 20 odd of the world's leaders in podiatry, for example. I interview them on Zoom like we're doing today, put it in an online platform. It's free to register for, but people can upgrade to the all access pass. It's another great model. And it helps me build my funnel. It's all about the list. So I get these great experts who have great lists who let their databases know about the summit, and they end up on my list. That's kind of what I'm into at the moment. And who knows what's next? I'll go home with an idea and I'll say to Helen, great idea, darling. Look what I'm doing now. But at no stage, we're going to travel more. We're going, as the girls are leaving, we've downsized our house. We're going on Winnebago trips and camping trips.
Nice.
Yeah, we're spending even more time just boofing around.
Mate, that's fantastic. I think that your story, your journey, and where you are now, and obviously what's to come, is really inspiring. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. I think you're living the dream, mate. And hopefully this inspires a lot of business owners, whether in the health practice or in the health industry or otherwise, to really take control of their destiny and stop being the bottleneck in their business and realise their opportunities that exist.
But and it's the same. Every business, as every business I work with, they have a choice. We went into business to have a choice. Mm-hmm. So they say, "Well, I can't leave work at 3 o'clock on a Friday." Well, why not? It's your business. You do whatever you want to do. I have to work Fridays. Well, why not take 3 days off every week? Why not? That's why you went into business. Who's running this business and who's it for? Is it for you or for everyone else? If you're a business owner, that's why you did it. So take the opportunity and be rewarded for being a business owner. But most business owners don't get rewarded enough. Reward yourself. Take a day off. Take your holidays. That's why you went into business in the first place. Exactly. Otherwise it's running you, which is not what it's all about. You might as well have a job and go home and relax.
Correct. Exactly right, mate. So look, if any of the audience wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
I'm big on LinkedIn, as you know. I do a lot on LinkedIn. So find me, Paul Wright, Newcastle. You'll find me on there. In terms of if you want to get information on our programs, our main sites, go to healthbusinessprofits.com. So healthbusinessprofits.com, you can get access to free resources and everything on there. You can get on my email list, build a database. Or if you want to get a copy of the book or check out 1 Minute Practice, go to 1minutepractice.com, which really helps you revolutionize your business if it's in healthcare.
Fantastic. We'll put it all in the description so people can reach out. It's been very inspiring. We wish you all the best. We know that you're still kicking some goals, and we hope that this can inspire others to do the same.
Hopefully. I'm always available, and I think that my mentors are always very sharing, and I'm the same. So contact me on LinkedIn or via healthbusinessprofits.com, and if I can help you, I'd love to.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Paul. And that's the end of another episode of Enjoy the Journey podcast, and we'll catch you all next time.
Thank you very much, mate.
Yeah. See ya.
Talk to you soon.